Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today on the website of French auction portal Intrancher, we're going to have a look at an auction by Vichy Auctions, one of the main French auction houses which deals with musical instruments. Those of you that know the channel will have seen many of these auctions before. They have their big bulk of auctions coming up, so they usually have 3 in a row when it's bowed stringed instruments. They do other instruments as well, but these are bowed stringed instruments. So the first auction they have is on the 28th of November. They also have one coming up on the 29th and the 30th of November that I'll do in different videos. But this one is probably like the lower tier of things, so they'll progressively get better. So this will be the lower tier, there'll be a middle tier and a higher tier, which will be the last one on the 30th. Initially this actually looks kind of okay, like better than some of their auctions. They do student auctions which has like very low tier instruments. This stuff looks okay, should hopefully be better than some of the French auctions we've had recently. So buyer's premium is 25%, so that's what you pay on top of the final hammer price. So whatever the final hammer price is, you pay 25% on top. This is a French auction, so bear that in mind if you're looking to buy something and you live outside of France. Import, export fees, shipping, CITES restrictions, all of that fun stuff. Just before we get into it, just like to say, if you do enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing, like or comment, because it really does help the channel quite a lot and would be much appreciated. So yeah, without further ado, let's just crack on and get onto it. There's going to be a lot of kind of French violins in this auction, which are not my favorite kind of thing, so don't be kind of worried if I skip past a load of stuff, because there are 351 lots. It's going to take ages if we look at everything, so we are just going to have to kind of blitz through things a bit, unfortunately. But let's go and have a look at the first lot anyway and see what we have. So Mirecourt violin, labelled Lebert, 353 millimeter length of back, €400 to start. It's actually not too bad, to be fair. Got a JTL kind of trade violin there, 358, once again not too bad, €400, so it's kind of a good start even for the French violins. Another 20th century Mirecourt violin with a Chipot label, that kind of dark red varnish, 357, all good lengths of back, so that's kind of encouraging. I've got another Mirecourt violin here, and another one, a slightly older one, 1860. Let's have a look at that one. So 359 length of back, so on the borderline. That one maybe not so exciting. Got a small size viola here by Joseph Thiriot, made in Mirecourt, 1800. €800 on this, 379. That is pretty small, but it looks like that kind of classic brown varnish that some of these instruments had at that time. You can see there's a lot of repairs and things going on here. Really nice kind of upright F-holes though, quite interesting looking thing. It has a Rumberg as well on the fingerboard, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, quite like that. It's not too bad. We missed out violin there, but like I said, we can't look at all of these French violins. 3/4, we're going to miss that. This one's interesting. French provincial 18th century violin with its original neck. Okay, 358, €600 to start. Interesting looking violin this. Yeah, it's that classic kind of 18th century French colour to the varnish. Yeah, quite a nice instrument actually, and this is the kind of French stuff that I actually really like, so I do like this. I think that would be quite an interesting instrument to have a look at in person, probably quite nice for someone. So yeah, I like that. And when they say kind of French provincial, they basically mean, I guess, not Paris and not Mirecourt really, so somewhere else, or somewhere kind of out of the cities, so to speak. Let's have a look at this Mirecourt violin, 1930s, 358. Yeah, pretty good kind of condition that, to be fair. €700, so it's actually not a bad auction. 19th century Mirecourt, let's have a look at this one. A lot of restorations and stuff, 362. Let's see what else we've got here. Let's check this one, violin by Joseph Quattaro, around 1830. Interesting. De-varnished table, 360. Yeah, it's looking a little bit pale, a bit funny. Okay, more 20th century Mirecourt stuff. Same, we're going to skip a lot of these ones, unfortunately. Right, violin from the beginning of the 20th century bearing a Roscolini label. It's kind of difficult to know what's going on with some of these. 3/4 cello. Shall we have a look at it? Probably. 3/4 miracle cello there. Pretty standard, so we probably shouldn't have looked at that one, to be honest. Miracle violins again. Let's have a look at this 19th century miracle violin. I feel like I need to have a look at some of them. Okay, interesting inlay there. It's pretty bizarre. Bearing Bruges label. Okay, well, might appeal to someone. Another 20th century Remy violin, made in Mirecourt around 1820, 1830. 363, quite long. Nice varnish though. Nice wood choice on the back, so quite interesting. Looks like it has a I know it's just the varnish that's worn there. Almost looked like it had kind of a crown, because most people do ebony crowns, but you do sometimes see maple crowns and other funny things going on. But no, just the varnish. Violin from the beginning of the 20th century there, with a Klotz label. Okay, interesting. Looks slightly different to the normal kind of 19th century trade stuff that we see, but maybe it is just that. More miracle stuff. We've got some bow sticks. See if there's anything here. This is interesting. Cello bow from the Pacat school in Ironwood. That definitely needs a bit of restoration. 800 euros on that. Could actually be a nice bow with a bit of work done to it. Like I said, we can't look at everything here, but we'll have a look at a few things, and I definitely recommend having a look at the catalogue. If you get a chance, you'll no doubt spot things that I miss. Let's have a look at this. I like the weird kind of stuff, or the older stuff. Violin bow stick made in the style of Armand Goulart, around 1830. Exotic wood. Yeah, definitely a lot of repair work needed. Let's have a look at this bow. German bow. Silver mounted, bearing the signature Sylvester and Moccatel, so a dodgy signature there. Looks like it's got a collar on it, which rear ring they're calling here, which is going to affect the value. Someone's done a bit of a repair. That probably would have been a common repair in the past, but people wouldn't do that kind of repair now. Let's see what else we got here. Miracle stuff here. More miracle things. If we see anything that looks kind of interesting, we'll check it out. Let's have a look at this miracle violin, made around 1870 from the Darazi school. Not super crazy there, but 500 euros. Right, violin from the workshop of Charles Louis Mazafi. Big crack on the front there. People do like that stuff though. Not very exciting to me. Right, violin by Claude Francois Villaume, known as Villaume Père, made in Mirecourt around 1800. Okay, interesting. 500 euros on this. Curious outline there. 500 euros is not too bad. Right, 18th century stuff here. Violin by Francois Pelliot, made in Mirecourt around 1770-1780. Yeah, 600 euros. This is one of the examples of these like 18th century French violins with this weird varnish that I've talked about before, that looks like some kind of really dubious, like Eastern European or Czech violin from like the early 20th century. Really weird varnish for the time, but these are 18th century violins. Like, I have one at home, not in as good condition as this, but yeah, you see these absolutely weird varnish that they were doing. Looks like it's sprayed on, but yeah, it wasn't. Very strange. Let's have a look at this violin made in the workshop of Leon Mougenot, Miracle. That's pretty standard there. Let's have a look in the late 19th century German violin. It's kind of not too bad. 356. It's kind of okay. It's got a bit of charm about it. Ooh, a violin by Francois Cossat, made in Rouves-le-Chétive, around 1850. Definitely saying that wrong. Whoa, look at that painted flame. Mad. 367 as well. That is insane. Yeah, 800 euros. Interesting though. I mean, if that wasn't such a crazy length of back, that could be quite an interesting violin. More French stuff here. Violin by Charles Louis Colin Mazar, 1930s. Retouch, yeah, looks like heavily fiddled about with. Look at that, that's horrible. Look at these brush marks. That's a bit of a project for someone. Half-size violin here. Well, half-size violin, Italian school, €800. Okay, interesting. Okay, interesting. Eye on the scroll, but not seeing anything super exciting about it personally, but okie dokie. More French violins here. Look at this, violin from the workshop of Ewald Bruckner, made in Markneukirchen, 1921. Kind of Guarneri style violin there. It's had a bit of damage stuff. Kind of curious violin, interesting antiquing. 361 length of back there. German violins. Violin by Jean-Baptiste Grangera, 1780. €800 on this. 359 length of back. Yeah, it needs a bit of work to it. It's got a bit of charm to it. Don't mind that. 3/4 violins here. 20th century Mircore. Actually, everything so far is pretty interesting. Even the normal French trade stuff, it's not bad. This is an okay auction. Mircore violin finished and sold by Roger and Max Millant, €1,000. Kind of Guarneri-ish model, probably. Yeah, said imports from Mircore. They just tidy up a bit. Yeah, it looks alright actually. Don't mind that. Right, some more bows here. I think the bows in these auctions are pretty good, but I said from a time point of view, we can't look at everything. German violin, signed A. Nürnberger. Quite nice work on that. The German stuff is quite tidy normally, so that's interesting. That's curious looking button on that bow. What on earth is going on there? That's bizarre looking both. €500. Wow. They always seem, a lot of the bows have quite a high price in these auctions, but I mean, it's all French stuff, which is what people want. It's a quite interesting looking bow. Violin bow by Morison Frere, €800 there. Yeah, if you're looking for a bow, definitely take your time to look through all of this stuff, because there is some really good things for sure. Let's have a look at this violin bow by Paul Bargenet. A bit of the kind of nice button. Quite a nice bow. Shame that we've lost the tip of it there, so it needs a bit of repair. Not the end of the world, but worth noting. Another interesting bow here. Viola bow from the Tort Peugeot school, made around 1830. €1,000 on that. Yeah, that needs some heavy work on that, but kind of interesting. Right, another French provincial violin, second part of the 18th century, with a label of Salomon. €500 on that. 362. Yeah, it needs a lot of work. That it's kind of got some charm, but a bit too much work, I think. JTL stuff here. 18th century violin. Let's have a look at this. Bearing a Christian Wolfhart label. Numerous restorations. Kind of interesting looking F-holes on this. Interesting kind of vertical, kind of the placement. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, that's a curious one. Would quite like to see that in person actually. Right, let's have a look at this. Violin by Louis Delignon, made in Baudricourt, 1945. Okay, that's an interesting time to be making violins. €700. Not very exciting though. Violin by Louis Montessier, made in Mircore around 1800. €400 on that. 357. Sometimes see these, I think, in the Vichy auction. That one not the greatest example. Small viola from the 18th century, German school, sculpted head. Okay, 380. That is pretty small. Oh, okay, interesting. One of these kind of lion kind of type heads. Not the greatest looking head, but interesting. Right, violin by Nicholas Hammond, made in Munich around 1770. Okay, Baroque montage. Yeah, I mean, lots of opportunities here for people interested in Baroque violins, I think. Or miracle violin, 18th century violin in the style of Grand Gerard. Okay, head replaced, 359 on that. Yeah, 800 on that. I don't know. A lot of work to be done. Right, violin by Francois Pillemont, made in Mirecourt around 1820, 1830. We saw a Pillemont double bass recently at the Early Music Show in London, on the stand of the Early Music shop actually, so it's interesting. Yeah, not too bad. Right, this is interesting. Large Mirecourt violin, made around 1850 with a Magini label. Iron mark of Enviome. 368, yeah, that's huge. 700 euros. Kind of curious one, but that I think is too big for most people. Violin, second part of the 19th century. That is needing some work. Quite like that kind of varnish though. That's okay. 20th century, miracle stuff. Let's see what else we got. Let's have a look at this JTL. Looks like a slightly better one. 1817, 1880, so a bit of an old one here. That's not too bad actually. 358 length about, that's okay. Right, we're on to some bows again. Let's see, anything interesting here. Let's have a look at this. Violin bow by Roger Francois Lotte. That's kind of okay. Ooh, German viola bow, signed Nürnberger, gold mounted, 800 euros. Nice workmanship on that as well. Nice head. Let's see. Let's have a look at this bow. Violin bow from the Bazaar School, mounted in nickel. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Let's have a look at this Lebert violin bow, mounted in nickel silver. Okay. What else? Let's have a look at this 20th century German double bass bow there, signed Prager. 800 euros. That could be a pretty good bow. Let's see. Have a look at this violin bow by Charles Nicholas Bazaar, 1880, in a taut model. It's quite an interesting head, yeah, for a violin bow. Anyway, we're back to instruments now. 20th century miracle stuff. Should we look at it? Yeah, go for it. Why not? Pretty standard. I should stick to my instincts. This is interesting. Violin by Claude Allard, made in Sarlat, 1988. 600 euros. Pretty curious outline. I just feel like we've seen this before. I've not really ever tracked Vichy if they kind of resell stuff again if it doesn't sell the first time, but probably. Contemporary German half-size double bass there, Mark Lebert label, 800 euros. Interesting. Miracle violins here. Skip some of those. Right. Violin by Thomas Anderson, made in Edinburgh, 1888. 600. Bit of a curious looking thing there. Lebert violin. Right, a Mirecourt cello, 19th century. Definitely needs a bit of work. Violin made in Albert de Blaise workshop, 1929. Right, violin by Charles Flambeau. Okay. Shame that the back is separated. Nice violin by JTL. Yeah, it's kind of okay. It's almost like the kind of thing that you'd expect to see in the Sunrise auctions or something. I don't know, it just reminded me of some of the stuff they sell on there. Modern violin, good condition, okay. Pretty vague. Yeah, I mean, that could be from anywhere, anything even. German violin, second part of the 18th century. Numerous restorations. 352, that's kind of respectable. That's an interesting button repair there. Like weird kind of jigsaw puzzle. I don't know why you would do that personally, but that's pretty strange. Yeah, it's kind of got a bit of charm. That it's absolutely terrible condition, really, if you're being honest, but interesting. German violin, second part of the 18th century. Another one that looks like it's had a bit of a hard life, although I do have a few things like that myself. There is a charm to them. More miracle stuff, cello half size, more JTL stuff, more miracle. We're back to some bows and things here. Let's have a look at this one. Violin bow from the Malines school, nickel silver. This auction not too bad actually, it's kind of interesting. Viola bow from the Picat Simon school, amaret wood, 500 euros, and that way to get kind of a cheaper bow. See what else we might have here. Let's have a look at this violin bow by Louis Bazin. Not so keen on that. Okie dokie, a few more bows here. Definitely some potential things here. Mircore. Let's have a look at this. Violin made in Dolling's workshop, beginning of the 20th century. Just fairly typical kind of trade stuff there. Some more French violins. Let's have a look at this Mircore cello, because we haven't seen many cellos today. Very standard stuff, really. More 19th century French stuff. Colin Mazar. Some violins. Let's just have a look at this cello. Okay. More miracle stuff. Interesting 3/4 Pillemont violin. Right, Italian violin head, probably made in Genoa at the end of the 18th century from the Castello school. Okay, bizarre. You'd expect to see a few more pictures, I think. Well, if someone is missing a scroll from a Genoan violin from the 18th century, then I guess that might be an interesting purchase. 18th century French violin with a Gersat label, 700 euros. Wow, like that. What the hell is going on with this violin? The front of that literally looks like an artist's palette. You know, you could hang that on a wall as an art piece. It's pretty strange. Some more French violins here. And look, here's a violin by Amédée Dieudonné that's had a bit of an issue. Oh, that's weird with that varnish. Got a certificate as well, so a bit of a restoration job for someone. 20th century Mircore cello here. None of the cellos are particularly exciting on this auction. Got some more bows. It's quite interesting. 3/4 violin bow by Georges Emile Bargenet. Let's see what else we got here. Let's have a look at this violin bow from Frank Daguin's workshop, made in around 2000. You can see already getting to that quite angular kind of cutting and angles that popular these days with bows. Some more bows here. That's an interesting one. Violin bow from the Simon school, made around 1860. Yeah, interesting head on that. Slightly curious. Let's have a look at this one as well. Marc Lebert, 1950. It's got an interesting kind of thickness, diameter there at the head. It's kind of a bit curious. Anyway, let's move on. 18th century German violin. Needs a fair bit of work. Musical 19th century, Nicholas Armand. Let's have a look at this. Violin by R. Levin. €800 on that. 1935. Okay, 360 length of back. Have a look at this. Violin by Dominique Salazar. Miracle around 1830. That's kind of interesting. 363 there. It's a little bit long. Let's have a look at this. Violin head by Leopold Renaudin, made in Paris, 1770-1780. Okay. Violin by Louis Motissier again. I think this one looks a bit better than the other one we saw. Maybe not the colour of varnish though. 19th century violin from Miracle. Right, viola violin by Maurice Richel, made in Marseille, 1874. €700, so 375. Yeah, it's kind of could just about be a giant violin, couldn't it, or a very small viola. Small violin, more JTL stuff. Miracle cello, around 1900. Still looking for a decent cello, but nothing so far. Violin by Victor Peru, 1830. It's kind of okay. Modern viola, fairly good condition. 429. It's pretty good modern size. Wow, that is amazing. That scroll is way out of proportion to the rest of the that part. That is pretty bonkers, but yeah, interesting. Well, I can pretty safely say that's not a trade instrument. Miracle stuff. Another Miracle cello. I don't know why I'm bothering really with the cellos. I can already tell that it's probably going to look pretty dull. JTL stuff, Miracle cello. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to have a look. Yeah, it's not really that exciting. Right, some more bows, why not? Let's see. Any good bows? I'm probably missing all of the best bows in reality, but there we go. Let's have a look at this. 20th century violin bow, made in copy of a Dominique Picat. Okay. Interesting. Let's see. This is cool. Violin bow with iron mark. Yeah, interesting kind of eye on that. Quite like that. That's a curious looking one. Let's see. Right, we're out of bows again. So 20th century violin. Let's have a look at this. Okay, €600 on that. Violin from the German school, 18th century. Yeah, that's had some funny things done to it there. More Miracle stuff. Small viola, 20th century. 384. JTL. Violin German school, around 1800. That's kind of, that might be quite nice in a kind of Baroque classical setup, I think. Right, violin by Joseph Javier Jacquet, Miracle. Double bass bow there, interesting. 20th century German violin with an Amatus label. Interesting. Really kind of odd varnishing, antiquing on that. JTL, more French stuff. Another one of these Richelme violin viola things. They're a bit horrible. More Miracle. Nicholas Ain. I quite like some of the Nicholas Ain stuff. They're usually absolutely huge though. 375. Yeah. Oh, this is a viola. That's right. 375. Yeah, don't see many violas. Okay, it's a typical shape. Okay, yeah, that's pretty small viola, but might be interesting. Right. Interesting. 18th century cello head by Lefy. Some restorations. Okay, yeah, so this is interesting. This is like a lot of these 18th century kind of French cello heads, you know, Salomon workshop, all of that kind of stuff you can see with these kind of shells or flowers on the side. They all say that they were made by the same person, La Fille, which basically means like the girl. So really would be quite interesting to know who made those. But yeah, pretty cool. 500 euros. I mean, these are pretty cool heads, to be fair, so it would be quite nice to own one. Violin from Carmelo Catania in Italy, made in Catania in 1949. 500 euros on that. Well, an opportunity to own an Italian violin, probably quite cheap, but it is not the most exciting work. Let's be honest. A few more bows and things here. Let's see. Maybe we might have finished instruments now. Could potentially be just some bows left. Let's see. Cello bow from the Bazin workshop in Abbeville. 600 euros. Let's see what awaits us on the last page of this auction. This is kind of interesting. Violin bow by Roger Francois Lott, made around 1970. 700 euros. Needs a bit of TLC, but kind of potential, I think. Let's see. Hooflack violin bow, silver mounted, 1500 euros. Okay. Let's see. Violin bow stick from the Simon School in exotic wood, 700 euros on that. That's kind of interesting. And I think that is it. So yeah, there we go. That is the first set of first auction in a group of 3 auctions, which is finishing on November the 28th. Actually not a bad auction, to be fair. Some pretty, like, a good amount of interesting things. I was kind of entertained by it, so hopefully you guys are as well. Check out the link in the description, have a look at it yourself. Any comments on anything, if you've noticed anything good, let me know. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and stay tuned for the next 2 installments of these Vichy auctions, which will probably hopefully be recorded in the next few days. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye.